Let's face it, choosing camera is becoming more and more difficult every single day. Not everyone is born a tech-savvy photographer who knows exactly what kind of camera they want to choose for their YouTube channel. And here is where I come to help. In this video, I'm going to help you to choose the best camera for your YouTube channel, or any type of content creation for that matter. And we're going to do it in the best way possible and in the cheapest way possible. But why listen to me? Because only until recently, I was using my phone to record my YouTube videos. And I went through the same process of choosing a camera for my YouTube channel. The camera that you're watching through right now. I made a lot of mistakes on the way as well and came to a conclusion of how to actually choose the best camera for you. So, let's just get it started. Yeah, I was actually always telling you that that phone is the best place to start with a YouTube channel. And I still stand by it. If you know how to record a great video on your phone, when you'll get to a dedicated camera, the results will be just amplified. But eventually you'll reach the point where phone will just not be enough. And you will not just want, but you will need to upgrade to dedicated camera. And there is nothing wrong with that. No matter how great your phone is, no matter whatever number of iPhone you have, like 12, 13, 14, 15, it will never be as great as a dedicated camera, just because it's a pinhead size sensor in these phones. And because of that, and no matter what kind of post-processing these phones are doing, you'll never achieve the results as on a camera. So why am I telling you this? The main takeaway from this is that you need to think about actually getting a camera when you'll think that the phone is actually the technical limitation of whatever doing on your videos, and that the camera will only free you from those limitations. So, what camera should you buy? There are a few criteria that you need to have in mind before you're gonna go to camera. First, what are you going to shoot with it? Second, where are you going to shoot with it? Third, what equipment you can use with it? And last but not least, probably the most important, what is your budget? So let's start with what are you going to shoot with it. If you're going to shoot yourself with this camera, will be like vlogging situation or a talking head video like this one thing is very important than anything else that people often overlook, and it is articulating screen. You need to be able to see yourself. Like I'm seeing myself right now. There is a lens and there is a screen. Sometimes I'm gonna watch on a screen, so yeah. Please don't freak out. Yes, you can always purchase an external monitor for your camera, but it is an additional expense, an additional thing to carry with you. So articulating screen in many cases is not just important, it's an essential choice for your camera. So if you're shooting yourself, always think about articulating screen. But if you're choosing something else, for example, if you have mainly product shots, landscape shots, and things where you are not mainly in camera, then yeah, completely ignore this and buy any camera that will fit other criteria. Okay, let's now talk. Where are you going to shoot with it? Is it an outdoors where there is a plenty of light? Or you're shooting indoors where it's completely dark and you require a lot of lighting? Like in this room, for example. Here's where you need to consider camera sensor size and camera lenses. Let's start with the sensor size. You can either choose from the full frame sensor or the crop frame sensor. For Sony cameras, it's an APS-C sensor. Crop sensors are of course cropped, they are usually smaller and let in the less light than the full frame counterparts. So that means the full frame sensors are better in a low light conditions. In my case, I went with a full frame sensor because I usually record in the bad lighting condition. This room is pretty dark. Plus it has the dark walls. And the downside to this is of course full frame cameras cost more. And sometimes much more. But if you went with a crop frame, you can always compensate it with your lenses. And what you want for this is faster aperture lenses. The aperture is usually measured in f numbers. You've seen it with the camera lenses, like f something. The lower the number is, the better it will work in a lower light condition, meaning that it's faster. And it also will give you shallower depth of field, meaning that your background will be blurrier. But to be exact, what shallow depth of field means that the place that is in focus is narrower for the lower f-stops. Like if you go from the side, like for the higher f-stops it will be this big, for the lower side it will be this big. Meaning that for very low depth of fields, if your nose is in a focus, your ears might not be, and it will be blurred. Well, this is for the extremely low f-stops. Plus, actually full frame sensor amplifies this effect and gives you even more shallow depth of field. And there is one more thing that you need to consider in your lenses. Your lenses also decide the field of view of your camera. The field of view is measured in millimeters, and the lower the number is, the wider the field of view is. And depending on the space that you're shooting, you might need a different focal length, meaning the field of view. For example, if you're vlogging, that means that you're holding your camera pretty close to your face, like on an arm's length, and you need to have as wide field of view as possible so it will not zoom into your face. And in this case, you need 28 millimeters or less. I know in the beginning it might be pretty difficult to understand what type of focal length you need exactly, and for that reason I highly suggest you to get your first camera with the kit lens, meaning that the lens that your camera is actually bundled with. Usually these lenses are the zoom lenses, meaning that they have the variety of focal length, so you will know exactly what type of focal length is great for your own situation. Like in my case, my camera came with 28 to 60 millimeter kit lens, and I usually record on the higher end, like on 60 millimeters, but put my camera a bit further just to make my background a bit blurrier and not to fit as much space and to have like distance between me and the camera. Like I will show how it will work. I'm gonna increase the focal length to 28 millimeters. As you can see all the mess. This is 28 millimeters. This is how wide it is. And this is 60 millimeters, the thing that I record with. So you understand how big of a difference it is. Again, this is 60 millimeters and this is 28 millimeters. Plus, the higher focal length, meaning that higher the numbers, are actually flattening the image. So you yourself will look a bit more flat, meaning that the distance from your ears to your nose will look like a bit narrower, and it helps to move background closer to you. It is giving an illusion that something on a background is actually bigger than it is. Trust me, these monitors are not that big compared to me. But because I'm recording at 60 millimeters, it actually looks a bit closer than it is. So to give you a good understanding, I'm gonna show how it looks like in 28 millimeters. They're average. And plus, like this, I look a bit more squished. And if I go and I will move a bit back, it makes me look flatter, which usually is the look that you need to go with. Now, let's talk about the equipment that you're going to use with your camera. They are usually your lights that I have right here and your microphones. If you're going to use an external microphone, meaning that you are going to attach some type of microphone to your camera, or you're going to use the completely separate microphone like I myself am using right here, then you don't need to think a lot about the microphone preamps that are in your camera. Just get whatever they are because you're not gonna use them anyways. Just make sure that if you want to use external microphones, especially the shotgun microphone that you want to mount on your camera, just consider that it should have a good mounting position. Like for example, some Sony cameras, they don't have a good mounting position because they then cover the articulating screen. So for that reason, you will need to buy an external cage in order to put your microphone in a different spot. So consider the things like that. And as for the lighting will actually help you to choose the mood for your videos and shape your face however you want. So in the beginning, try to get any cheap lights that you can. But if you have a faster camera, meaning that the lower apertures, you don't need a very powerful lights because they will record pretty well in a low light condition regardless. So now, let's talk about the most important part, the budget, and here I'm going to be giving you an examples of what type of cameras that you need to get. All the examples here will be based on Sony cameras because I think, but this is just my opinion, they are the best cameras for any YouTuber to start. If you will go with the lowest budget possible for the good camera, and if you want to future-proof yourself, I suggest you to start with Sony a6100. Yes, it is $1,000 camera, but you can get it with the kit lens, and it has a 4K recording to help you with the future videos. Alternatively, you can buy much cheaper but much older A6000, which does not have a 4K recording, but records pretty good videos nonetheless. Just remember, these are the crop sensor cameras, but if you want to buy or use the full frame lenses on this, or vice versa, the crop sensor on a full frame, you can do that because Sony allows you to do that. Now with a little more budget, I suggest you to go with either Sony a6400 or Sony a6600. The main difference, the biggest difference is that a6600 is actually the newer camera with the newer technologies, and it has the in-body image stabilization, meaning that the video will be less shaky if you're hand holding the camera. But in reality, it does not have that much effect. You will have much more effect with stabilized lenses or with a gimbal. So I suggest you to go with a cheaper option, which is A6400. If you have a bigger budget and you feel like you need a full frame sensor, I suggest you to go with Sony A7C, the camera that I'm recording it on right now. It is a full frame camera and I'm recording on a kit lens as well. It is more expensive than all the previous cameras. So in the case of A6100, this camera actually costs twice as more. This camera usually costs $1,800 only body or $2,100 with the kit lens. And I highly suggest you to get it with the kit lens because lens separately actually costs $500. Plus, it looks pretty great. And if you look hard enough, like I did in my case, you can actually get a kit bundle for $1,800, meaning that you're getting the lens for practically for free. Why didn't I talk about the other cameras like Canon, Fuji or Panasonic? Not that they're bad, it's just I have experience only with the Sony cameras. That's why I started with an actual explanation of different features that you need to look for in cameras. That means that if you find the same features in Canon, Fuji or Panasonic cameras, they will be as good as an option as any Sony, especially if you'll find them for much cheaper. But I'm very happy with what my Sony camera can do, and I can 100% recommend it. Well, this will be actually for today. I hope you will like this video and hope you will find it a little helpful. I'm going to put down the light, and this will help you to find and choose the perfect camera for you, because remember, it's not about the camera, it's about the one who's actually shooting with it, and the camera will actually amplify whatever good or bad you have in your skills. So what do you think? Which camera will be the best for you? Did you do your research? Do you know what do you want to buy? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for being here with me. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I'm gonna see you in next one. See ya.